Greg DeRoche, the president and CEO of the Family Policy Alliance. Listen, folks, we have one of my favorite U.S. senators, not just in the President of the United States Senate, but in my life of studying that body, the United States Senate, the role it serves in debate, and in the leadership that's available, and to have a brain and the brawn, the muscles to push things through and to fight for families, the things that we believe in. There is no greater champion than Senator James Lankford. In fact, folks, he won the Coburn Award, actually, not just because he's from Oklahoma. Senator Coburn was a huge supporter of the mission and the work of the Family Policy Alliance. And we actually named our highest award after the late, great Senator Coburn. And last year's winner was the person that I'm bringing in right now, Senator James Lankford. Thank you so much for being with us. Can't thank you enough for fighting for the lives of those that are not yet born at this critical hour, in particular, as we talk today. Thank you, Senator.
Craig, thanks. It's a very kind of introduction as well. Glad to be able to be with you and with talking with so many people that are so passionate about children and about life.
Absolutely. So combating abortion, you are at the forefront of this. There is no one more conservative. There is no one more pro-family than Senator James Lankford. Let's be clear on that. You lead the Values Action team for the United States Senate, and a lot of national groups look to you for leadership. So everyone's out there playing offense and defense, Senator. What's going on today? What should we be doing? Let's actually take away from the Senate, or excuse me, the Supreme Court first. What should we be doing as Christians? What should we be doing as a country on abortion? What's the right answer?
So as simplistic as it may sound, we pray and we go to work. That's what we do. We love people. That's what we do on this. There's a lot of focus on how do we make abortion illegal. And I get that, by the way, but we're not focused enough on how do we make it unthinkable, because those two things have got to be able to go together, on making it illegal and making it unthinkable. Because even in a situation where abortion is illegal in my state, for instance, in Oklahoma, and we say, no, we're not going to allow the taking of life after conception. We're going to protect all life at conception because every single child is valuable. And I have this basic belief of saying that some children are valuable, some children are disposable, is really the radical idea. The most simple idea is every child is valuable, that there's not a child that's disposable. So when we had this conversation, though, the Dobbs decision itself doesn't deal with taking away abortion in America. It allows people to still be able to go to different places and to be able to get an abortion. The issue really becomes, how are we going to protect every single child, regardless of what state that they live in? And that's going to be the engagement of people. Those are going to be crisis pregnancy centers and locations where individuals can get a chance to be able to talk to others about what's going on in the womb. That's going to be family members talking to other family members, neighbors talking to neighbors, coworkers talking to coworkers, and just talking about the value of life. Because while there are people that say, I want Washington, D.C. to just be able to fix this, it's really going to be individuals across the entire country that are going to engage in very practical, very loving, engaging conversations to remind people that's a child that we're talking about. It's not an inconvenience we're talking about. It's a child we're talking about. So let's find a way to be able to warmly welcome every child into life, and to be able to find ways for them to have a loving home.
And you're doing that in Oklahoma. Your governor, your legislature, really going in the direction that Family Policy Alliance and a lot of our family policy councils would advocate for, which is trying to end the grisly practice. But you're one of the leaders that points out that just passing a law, even a constitutional amendment like prohibition, didn't stop drinking in America. There's a lot of work for us to do as Christians. And you speak into kind of what's really going on here. It is almost biblical here. What do you think about the violence against the pro-life groups and the pregnancy resource centers that you're seeing right now, Senator? Again, if we go to the Bible, we could say, gosh, we're going to expect this out of the evil one, but it's surreal what's going on right now, isn't it?
It is surreal, Craig. When we see a pregnancy resource center that literally is attacked, that's firebombed, or that is smashed or has, red paint poured all over it and the words revenge put on it, or again, one have graffiti put all over it that says, if abortion's not safe in America, you're not safe. I mean, these are not just kind of threats. These are real threats. We have volunteers that are going into all these pregnancy resource centers, loving on parents, loving on moms that are struggling in a really difficult moment, helping dads learn how to be dads, getting baby formula, getting children's clothing, getting parenting tips. That's what's really going on in that pregnancy resource center, as well as sonograms and the ability to be able to help people understand what's going on in their own body. That doesn't sound like an act of violence, but what's happening is there's violence coming against them. And we're seeing even individuals travel from California all the way to Washington, D.C. To be able to carry out an assassination of a Supreme Court justice in the name of trying to be able to protect the right to be able to take the lives of children. Abortion itself is a violent act where a child dies in an abortion. And then to be able to see the outpouring of violence against pregnancy resource centers is it's just yet another example of why I'm so passionate about protecting the value of every single life and having a culture that actually speaks out for life, not a culture that speaks out for death.
And that's the that's the leadership you're providing in the United States Senate. Your state is doing a great job, as we pointed out, but we're with Senator James Lankford, a Republican senator representing Oklahoma, who's running for re-election this year. And our listeners at home should know we are a 501c4 organization, and we do endorse in elections. And our organization has endorsed Senator James Lankford, and it's because of his commitment to life. You're with us on the phone. Sorry to talk to you like you're not here, Senator, but it's really been an inspiration to work with you on these, because you look around corners, and one of the things that you're leading on, and folks, we want you to share this. We want you to post it. We want you to let your friends know about this, because this is a critical point in American history where we get to decide again for the first time in a half a century what direction we go on life. And we're being invited back if the Supreme Court ruling is everything that we say it is, when we get through all the analysis of it that we get through. And it's going to be people like Senator James Lankford that lead the way, because you're seeing things like the Hyde Amendment and taxpayer abortion funding, where a lot of people would say, oh, that was a fight we had in the 70s. You're saying, no, it isn't. This is a fight we're having today. I even read something about the military, that you guys have control over that policy, and the president does as a chief administrative officer. You even got to fight there today, don't you, Senator? We do, actually. It's interesting. These are not subtle policies. President Biden is the most pro-abortion president in American history. Literally, his administration looks at every single agency, how they can advance abortion and increase the number of abortions in America. So whether it's Health and Human Services and stripping away conscience protections for nurses and doctors that don't want to be around an abortion at their healthcare facilities, that they're stripping those away and saying that the federal government won't protect the rights of conscience, which is federal law right now, or whether it is finding new ways to be able to increase abortions, or as even is going on right now behind the scenes, as the administration tries to pursue ways to, if Dobbs comes in with a decision in a state like Oklahoma, determines they're not going to allow abortions in America, the administration's quietly trying to figure out if they can get abortions on Indian tribal land, or they can get them into federal facilities and try to be able to go around the laws of a state. Because again, this administration's not about protecting life. They're about increasing the number of abortions. When the National Defense Authorization is debated behind closed doors as they walk through it, one of the single most contentious issues in the defense authorization bill is on abortion. And because this administration is trying to increase the number of abortions that are happening in America, we're trying to be able to protect the value of every single child. I think that's history would say that's going to be on the right side of history. And I do believe in the decades ahead, that generation will look back on this generation and will shake their head at this generation and say, I can't believe there was a generation in America that destroyed children because they were inconvenient. They'll look at this time period in the future as we look back on the time of slavery or on the time of women's suffrage and say, I can't believe that happened in America, but it did. I believe in the days ahead, that generation will look back on this generation and say, I can't believe they just threw children away because they called them inconvenient. Well, and this is why you're so important. It's such a privilege to talk to you while all of this is going on right now. What do you think about this the Dobbs ruling and the opportunity we have to kind of change the narrative. You and I met when I was working for Chuck Colson, and I know that Chuck Colson, you were just getting started in your political career back then, about the time he was called home to heaven. But that's what this is about, isn't it? It's about chasing after every life matters, and we don't want to lose that with this Dobbs decision debate, do we?
Yeah, we don't want to lose that. And it'll be interesting to be able to see again the Dobbs decision again as we're waiting for all the details on it. Excuse me, as we wait for that, it becomes a big issue to be able to think about what does this look like in every part of America. Not everyone in America thinks the same way that I do, thinks the same way that you do. But what is happening with the Dobbs decision is it's kind of pushing America to be able to talk again about the value of every child. And what's amazing to me is the conversation, if you go back 5 years ago, 6 years ago, even 2 years ago, the conversation was all about convenience. It was all about this is not the right time. It was almost like a method of contraceptive to say that, okay, it's not time to have a baby. I'll take this baby's life. I'll take this baby's life. I'll take this baby's life. Now it's time I want to be able to have a baby on that. This conversation has changed now. We're talking about the actual child in the womb and the value of that child. And I think that's what's powerful about it. That's why I think we need to lean in this conversation and not be afraid to be able to have this dialogue. The far left progressives are literally going out on the street and protesting for the right to take the lives of their children. That's a conversation that we should engage in as a culture, and to say, wait a minute, they're talking about celebrating the death of children. We don't celebrate that. We celebrate the birth of children. We celebrate the life of children. So it shows the differences of what's actually happening in our culture, but it's the moment that we shouldn't shy away from. That there are some that are saying, hey, I don't want to talk about this anymore. The Supreme Court's going to speak and I don't want to discuss it. No, it's the perfect time to discuss it because it's not just going to be a Supreme Court issue. It's a cultural issue, and it's going to keep moving from there. And there will be differences state to state. At the end of the day, there'll be legislators all over the country that they'll make different decisions about this in different states. We just need to, as a culture, continue to be able to talk about this.
And that's why I love working with you. And in our we have more than a 250,000 people just in our audience, millions through the family policy councils in the states, more than 40,000 churches out there. I want to say hello to all of you. Thank you for watching these videos. We have Senator James Lankford with us. Folks, this is to us what conservative leadership looks like. Not somebody who's not afraid to go into a difficult room, and not just difficult from enemies, but from friends. The enemies might be trying to punch you above the shoulders while our friends are trying to hit us below the knees and take us out before we can take the field. But we've got a true conservative warrior here fighting for the value of each and every human life in Senator Lankford. And I just want to say, God bless you. Stay strong. We're going to be supporting you and your colleagues and at the state, federal, and even the local level now with the school boards to help implement those policies, take advantage of the senator. There's a lot going on, though. It's not just the Dobbs decision right now. It's the Coach Kennedy case too. Could you give me your read on? I think that's important for a bunch of reasons. And Coach was actually on this show a couple of weeks ago, but I'd love to hear your take on the importance of us being able to have free exercise individually of our own faith, which to me, that's what the Kennedy case is about.
It is. The Kennedy case is really not difficult in many ways. This is the case of an individual who works at a public school that at the end of a football game, after the game was over, would silently kneel on the 50-yard line and would thank God for keeping his players safe. Now, it's interesting to me that that's the reason that he was fired. The school district came to him and said, we will, if you want to pray at the end of the game, we're going to protect you on that. We're just going to pick the place that you get a chance to be able to pray. So it's like you have freedom of religion as long as it's in our box, that we're going to put you in a certain place at a certain time, and you're going to be able to do that. You don't have the freedom otherwise. So I just ask people very simple questions on this. If a player was injured on the field during the game, would it be okay if the coach kneeled on the sideline and prayed for that injured player? Would anyone panic about that? And I would say no. If during the national anthem, the coach were to kneel during the national anthem, we have individuals that strongly want to be able to protect their free speech rights to be able to kneel during the national anthem on that, which I disagree with on it, but that's my decision on that as well. But that's a protected right for them to be able to make that statement on it. But it's interesting that people will say you can kneel during the national anthem. If a player gets injured, you can kneel on the sideline during that time period. But if it's at your own expression of your faith where you silently kneel after the game is over, we don't like that. Well, the court's got to be able to step in and make a simple decision. Does the state get to decide when you get to pray, who you pray for, and how you pray? That should be a slam dunk to be able to say, no, that's not the responsibility of the school district to do that or of the state to be able to do that. I've engaged with Coach Kennedy for years. We talked on the phone multiple times. We've met multiple times over the years to be able to talk about this case as he's walked through that. I love how he's handled this. He's a football coach, so he's not used to all the limelight and all the national attention that he's getting on it, but he's really handled it very well to be able to say, hey, I'm just trying to be able to live my faith. I'm not trying to impose on anyone else, but I get to make my choices as well. And so while there's been newspaper articles from the New York Times and Sports Illustrated and all kinds of folks attacking him on it, he's just kind of quietly lived his faith and said, doesn't everyone in America have the opportunity to be able to live their faith? And my outspoken statement is yes. Whether you're a Muslim, whether you're a Christian, whether you're a Jew, whether you're a Hindu, whether you're an atheist, all of those are protected rights that are in America, and we need to make sure that we guard that.
It's amazing to me, and that's a good transition for religious liberty in general. It's amazing. This seems an area where we can gain some ground back, right? Because if we can't pray on the field as a Christian, if I can't clasp my hands and do these, if I can't think the way I want to think because my brain has not been drenched in the word as much as I should have when I got up this morning, Senator, but I can always do better there. But if I choose to live my life that way and they tell me I don't have that option, this is the craziest thing to me. There are some intellectual people left on the left that would have to understand that if I can't pray to Jesus, that you can't pray to the climate change God, right, or the LGBT God, whatever, super mythical figure that you're praying to. You can't do what you want if you take away what I want. Are there any discussions still that are bipartisan about religious liberty? Because it's not just about Christianity, is it?
No, it's not just about Christianity. It's about all faiths, it's about all practice. I joke with people on this that I'm a Baptist, and the Baptists were kicked out of all the good colonies in the 1600s, and we had to run off. We helped establish a colony in Providence, Rhode Island, that was all about religious liberty. Because even when we were colonies in the 1600s, in the early 1700s, you had to be a certain religion for each colony. And very few places you could actually practice religious liberty. So people forget in our earliest days, as we were gathering on this continent from literally all over the world, we were learning how to be able to do this. So it was a real revolution in 1789 when we declared as a nation and then put the Bill of Rights into place to be able to protect the rights of any individual to be able to have a faith, live their faith, change their faith, or have no faith at all. That's been a protected right. In fact, Jews in the earliest days wrote to George Washington and said, are the children of Abraham going to be allowed to be here? Because there were places in Europe that Jews were not accepted at all. And so Jews in the brand new country were writing to the brand new president saying, how's this going to go for us? And President Washington writes back to this Jewish group and says, yes, the children of Abraham will be welcomed to be able to sit under their own fig tree and vine. He quotes this, a great statement from the Old Testament, to be able to say, yes, you're going to be welcome here. This is basic for us. So what's interesting is you mentioned some of the things of intellectuals and are they engaging on this? Yes, there are some that are engaging, but there's some that are getting to their ideological corner and saying, if I can't have what I want, you can't have what you want. And actually, we're trying to be able to push back and to say, all voices have got to be able to be honored. This is the United States of America, and we've got to be able to protect the rights of individuals to have a faith and live that faith.
Well, God bless you for that and your approach too, because that's in the tradition of all the great reformers, the great protesters, people like Martin Luther King Jr. And others that said we want to bring ourselves forward in this debate, and we're not telling other people what they have to believe, and it's hard. It's hard in this environment. It's hard with cable TV. It's hard with the pressure where in some cases we're seeing personalities over policies and other things in elections. But America is going through some hopefully growth pains, Senator. You're running for reelection. As I said, we're not alone. I think nearly every conservative group that we work with in alliances and other things that I would say are of consequence are in your corner. People think the world of you in this country, and I'd encourage all of our friends in Oklahoma, and we will be, to make sure they pay attention to your race. You actually have 2 Senate races open in Oklahoma, and other things going on. But you guys are leading the way, and you're a big part of that leadership for the rest of our country to inspire us, to show us what it can look like in an after-Roe environment. Those of you that haven't gone to this part of our website, go to afterroe.com. Please get involved in that. It's got every major pro-life national group involved in that coalition. It has the 40 state FPCs involved there, the great leaders, and people that we work with, like the Oklahoma Council, OCPI, that are your good friends as well, Senator Lankford. We like to end these interviews with a sense of encouragement. If you can't tell what I transferred to, this is a big hill. Thank God we have warriors like you in the United States Senator, United States Senate, Senator Lankford. We're going to march forward. We're going to do these things, protect life, advance religious liberty. But it seems such a big hill and a mountain. So give our audience encouragement. Is what they're doing right now with sending money and volunteering, knocking on doors, doing the stuff they're doing, does it matter? That's what they're going to want to hear.
It does make a tremendous difference, Greg. It's interesting to me, the number of people that I bump into that will say, you guys need to take care of all this stuff in DC. And I really will smile at them and will say, there is a wrong belief that says DC changes the country. We're in a representative republic, and in our country, the country changes Washington. Washington doesn't change the country. It's the most basic element of who we are as a nation. So there's no one's going to be elected and say they're going to go impose faith on everyone else. It rises up from within the country. So that means individuals that are talking to other people in their workplaces, they're talking to other people in their families, in their neighborhoods, that are getting involved in their churches. Those people are having an impact and an influence on people that are around them. And that really changes that neighborhood and then that neighborhood. And it continues to be able to spread out from there. So it really does make a difference. Now, again, it seems simple to say I should just elect somebody and they should just go solve all this. That's just not how it works. We're not a dictatorship. We're this representative republic that it actually moves in a set of ideas very, very different. So saying all that, it matters when you're going door to door and engaging with people. I was just door to door on my own campaign 2 weekends ago, and my wife and I were spent hours out just visiting with people. And it's amazing the number of people that are like, oh, there's an election coming. Who is it that's out there? Or I've seen your commercials when they were talking to me, and they want to get a chance to be able to talk about issues, but they needed more information and more engagement. It does matter when people go to a doorstep, as awkward and hard as that is at times, and has the opportunity to be able to talk to other people about those issues, because some people think deeply about it and some people want to know what other folks are thinking about. And they don't think about this a lot, and they really want to be able to engage in that set of ideas, but somebody's got to actually engage on it. So going door to door, making those phone calls, contributing and engaging, finding ways to support. If people want to find out more about what I'm doing and trying to engage, they can just go to jameslankford.com, jameslankford.com, or on the social media platforms at Senator Lankford. For any of those, you can engage with our campaign. You can definitely stay engaged with the work that's going on here. It's vitally important for the entire country and what's actually happening. But I would just say, just stay on track for all those things and what you can actually be engaged with, because it does matter. Don't just vote for somebody and think the job is done. We need to move hearts and minds of people.
Well, amen to that. And thank you. With that encouragement, we're going to let you get back to the important work that you have as United States Senator. Thank you, Senator Lankford. God bless you and your leadership on protecting life, being really one of the nation's top leaders on that topic, and families and religious liberty. It's a privilege to be with you today.
Well, thank you. Thanks for the invitation to be able to join the conversation. Don't lose hope. We should never grow weary of doing what's good.
Amen. Amen. And we'll talk real soon, my friend. God bless you.
Bless you as well.